Hello everyone, my name is Loko and welcome to another StarCraft 2 video. Now what I got for you today is a professional match of Terran versus Zerg. Spawning here in the bottom right hand corner of Acid Plant LE and playing with the red Zerg drones. He's from France, easily one of the best and most accomplished non-Korean StarCraft 2 players of all time. We have none other than Stephano. And his opponent spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map. He's from the United Kingdom, easily one of the longest-running Terran players on the planet. I'm pretty sure he's been playing since the very beginning of the game. At the very least, I remember looking up to him a couple of years ago when I first got started myself. We have none other than DeMusliM. And DeMusliM, of course, he's very well known for live streaming very regularly over at Twitch. And actually, no, that's Stephano. He's been live quite a bit as well. I've noticed that usually whenever I actually start up my own live stream in the afternoon, he's usually live right around that time as well, although he seems to mix it up quite a bit. Regardless, both of these players are definitely some of the very best over in Europe. So I am excited to see what they are gonna bring to the table. I've always really admired the playstyle that Stephano likes to play. The thing is that he's very good at just simply playing the good old-fashioned macro style. So I guess they were playing some other matches here simultaneously. But regardless, basically Stephano is the kind of Zerg player who just simply defends for a very long time and then eventually overwhelms you with stuff. He was very successful in particular back during like the Broodlord Infestor days. I'm sure that some of you remember that. That was probably the period of like 2011 to like 2014 or so. Stephano was an absolute monster. And while he technically retired after that, I don't think he actually ever did. I know that he started studying at some point. I don't know if he still does, but there's no denying that he's always really participated in tournaments and he's always remained a very strong contender in Europe in particular. So let's see what kind of build orders they will be going for. DeMusliM already going for a very safe and standard build. Following this up right now with a factory as well as a marine. He already has that Reaper going across the map. And the reason why he follows it up with a marine is just in case we do see that spawning pool first style. And it's actually pretty annoying as well because this Overlord is going to be prevented from poking into the main base all too easily. Zerglings though trying to get this around right there. You can see the Warcraft 3 days coming back right there to Stephano. Trying to get this around with that Reaper really early on. I'm sure he manages to make that happen every once in a while. And it's very painful for a Terran player to lose that Reaper early on. Now already though, we do see that third hatchery coming up, and actually Reaper survives with just 3 hit points intact. But already the third hatchery is now coming up here for Stephano. He did hide that drone out on the map before the Reaper managed to get here, and obviously this is gonna allow him to basically just get that really strong Zerg economy very early on into the game. Shouldn't really bother DeMusliM all too much though. This is the gold standard nowadays in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. Some Terran players have actually been responding to this by going for a third command center in the main base before creating a starport. Obviously that is a little bit risky because there's no denying that Zerg is still perfectly capable of just simply using that third hatchery as sort of like a larva generator, and you can definitely still go for a really aggressive, for example, roach based push. And if you don't have your starport out, you can't go for Banshees. Obviously, that can become very difficult, but it does look, judging by the production tab, that nothing aggressive here is coming up for Stephano just yet. He is going to send in the Overlord. Look at that. He's trying to figure out whether or not there is still that starport out somewhere, right? He will scout it right now, but that's just a slight little edge there for DeMusliM, making his opponent worry for just a little bit. So this will now be basically a game where the Terran player is going to try and deal as much damage as possible. In particular to the Zerg economy. The more that Terran can slow down the eco of the Zerg, the better this is going to be. But obviously it's going to be an interesting game here for Zerg because they are going to try and keep all of their workers alive while making as many of them as possible and while making as little army as possible as well. Stephano already now going into the double evolution chamber. I think he put those down right around the 4-minute mark. No lair or anything to be seen just yet. He is just simply going to go for more and more queens. So that's 3 additional queens upon the, I guess, 5 that he already has hanging out over here. Now, the matter of fact did move across the map. This was spotted immediately by Stephano right when it tried to go into the main base. And I think he actually knew that something like this was already coming up. just by simply seeing, of course, that there was no tech lab just yet on that starport earlier, and it was sort of hidden away. It's very common for a group of Hellions to try and make their way into the main base, but it will all come down here to the control of the Terran player. A couple of Hellbats are gonna try and now deal some damage here as well. Queen's already waiting though, and at the same time, right, inside of the main base, there's Zerglings ready to defend against more and more aggression. I do think though that this amount of Queens is gonna be more than enough to shoo away these couple of Hellbats. And while the Hellions are now gonna try and morph once again into Hellbats here near the natural, I do think that once again, Stephano is looking like he's all over this, right? Medevac is likely going to stay alive here for a little while longer, but if it's away from these Hellbats, obviously, that means that the Zerglings will be able to pick them off quite easily with the lack of healing that these Hellbats get when the Medevac is a little too far away. So far, very clean game here for Stephano. Definitely going to have to give him the upper hand. Look at the amount of workers that he has already, right? Easily boosting up to 60 plus here. Wouldn't even be surprised if he takes a 4th base here. Yeah, there we go. Very, very shortly. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, well, DeMusliM did end up losing quite a lot of units here. He did slow down the creep spread a bunch as well, which, by the way, will be relayed almost immediately. But he did get himself the command center right now, and he's actually going to go for an armory. So this may very well be, actually, that is a 4th command center already. Very greedy play there by DeMusliM. I love it. This may very well be a response to him knowing very, very well what it is that his opponent is capable of. But I think this is looking like it is going to be mech play here from DeMusliM. So really quick, economic focus build. He would totally go down right now if Zerg was preparing for like a very aggressive roach-based push. But at the very least, right, going for such a harassment-heavy style, it allows you to scout out what it is the Zerg player is focusing on, and if it is just simply a fort hatchery and then that macro focus style, I do think that this is going to be a game where DeMusliM is going to be capable of getting away with that really quick fort command center. Look at that, already floating it over at the 7-minute mark. Super sexy. Anyways, we do see the 2-2 upgrades already started. Now, the thing is, we obviously know that DeMusliM is now adding on additional factories. So this is going to be indeed a mech-based composition. But Stephano doesn't know at this point, and he's stuck on this, I guess now, Zergling Hydra-based composition. Going now for the Glio Reconstitution, so the Baneling, or not the Glio, actually, is it? No, that's Centrifugal Hooks. But regardless, he's going for the Roly-Poly upgrade, as it's much more known for the Banelings. And obviously, Baneling, you know, Hydra, Zergling, it's decent. But it's really not what you want to have when you're going up against a mech-based playstyle. Already, though, Stephano going up to that hive. We're 7.5 minutes into the game. He's barely scouted anything, but he now knows about the fact that there is a 4th command center, and apparently he immediately made the decision to go up towards the hive. Obviously, for the hive, you do need to get yourself the infestation pit, and even though he does still have the Roly-Poly upgrade coming up, swarm hosts are queued up as well. Really think that swarm hosts are a really smart decision. Now, this is one of those things that's recent in SC2. Basically, what Terran players have been doing is they've been trying to make it really hard for Zerg players to figure out whether or not it's bio or whether or not it's mech. Against bio, usually you want to go Hydraling Bane, but against mech, pulling that off is much more difficult. So if Terran show a bunch of Marines early on into the game, usually Zerg will try and default to their Ling Bane Hydra composition. But as we now know, it's going to be mech, and that is going to be a difficult army to counter with just Hydraling Bane. Now, additional swarm hosts are coming up, bringing the grand total, I think, to 11 here in just a bit. No, even, we're going to go up to 14, so that's quite a lot of swarm hosts. That is going to inflate that supply count of Stephano quite a bit as well. Nice little push here, by the way, by DeMusliM. Trying to slow down some of that creep spread, but already, right? The queens are waiting for it. Creep spread is absolutely off the charts. 9 minutes into the game, and we already see it going across the halfway point. And I mean, the thing is, when you're playing bio, creep spread denial is really critical, but when you're playing mech, usually your pushes are rather slow anyway, and you can kind of get away with it. Now, these Hellions do end up roasting a lot of those Zerglings. I thought for a second that they were going to be able to get surrounded there by those Lings, but that's not quite the case. Beautiful play there by DeMusliM, being on top of his unit control. And even though this is a very roach swarm host based army, supply wise, right, DeMusliM is actually ahead. which is just because of the fact that he made that really quick 4th command center so early on into the game, and he's been getting a lot of resources here for a while already. Very little harassment so far here by Stephano, but I do think that that is going to change now with the amount of hosts that are waiting here. Swarm hosts, of course, they can be used relentlessly. Now, I guess if you manage to get rid, though, of all of the Hellbats and all of the Hellions, Lingbane Roach Ravager can actually do a lot of damage here. The thing is that Swarm hosts are great against pretty much everything here except the Hellions, so usually Terrans will try and sacrifice their Hellion Hellbat army to get rid of most of that army, or most of these Locusts, I suppose, but I'm curious to see how this is going to go. So this will definitely come down to good control here from both players. A couple of Locusts already being activated. I think that's mostly just to scout out the position. Stephano knows that the majority of that Terran army is right onto the high ground, and apparently he's seen something that allows him to move forward right here as well. One siege tank is taking a lot of damage already, but so far, well, while it will go down here eventually to that siege tank there in the back, that was definitely a fight that can be called an advantage here for Terran, because these Swarm hosts, they're going to be on cooldown for a super long time, right? Locusts do not spawn very often, and that means that DeMusliM can potentially start his slow push forward right at this point. That is a lot of freaking siege tanks, though. We see that Spire now coming up here for Stephano. I really like that idea. Going up to Brute Lords would be an amazing tool, but obviously already Thors are now being created here for Terran as well. But here we go. Here's that slow push that I was talking about. Beautiful move out so far by DeMusliM. He will end up losing one of those medevacs here, but with another Locust wave now moving forward, all he needs to do is make sure that the Hellbats are the ones that are taking or taking the gross amount of the damage here so far. At the same time, though, a lot of those Ravagers are moving forward, trying to rain some of their corrosive biles. Stephano does deal a reasonable amount of damage, but DeMusliM wasn't just really moving out to try and deal the damage towards the other side of the map. He was mostly just trying to secure his 5th command center right now as well. 88 workers here for DeMusliM. That's a ton. His eco is going to be so big that he's going to be able to replace pretty much everything as soon as it dies. Obviously, that is a very, very interesting concept, but it does also mean that his army is not going to be nearly as big. He's actually going to try and slow push forward. I really like that idea. Turrets in the front would obviously make this a really good position to just simply hang out in. It would just simply allow DeMusliM to be close to the action here, and obviously this is also a really good push terrain, I guess, to move towards the additional mining bases here from Stephano, who, by the way, just took the bottom left-hand corner as well. There, here we go. Locust once again moving forward. Well, that missile turret is not destined to live, but you can see, right, the Locusts are landing, and with that, the siege tanks can easily pick them all off. Once again, though, a couple of free siege tanks here. It is gonna be something that Stephano can call a minor victory, but once again, as soon as Terran moves forward, right, this is a super difficult position to hold. Look at that. Siege tanks in the little pocket there. I love it. Super smart play there. Siege tanks in the little pocket do make this more difficult. Already a couple of Thors here to make it very hard. Oh my god, beautiful biles there. But to make it really hard to switch to mass Mutalisk and maybe even a couple of Brutes, it is something that is something that Stephano could do here. He already is going for the +1 armor upgrade, but once again, a big amount of Locusts are trying to make their move forward. The Balix now also rolling on top of the majority of those Hellbats, as well as a lot of SCVs. Stephano is trying to push through, but that still is a lot of siege tanks there in the back end. Remember, right? DeMusliM has got a huge amount of eco. He's immediately replacing this with higher quality units. Sure, he's trading out a couple of Hellions, but he can replace those for practically free. Now going for those Liberators as well. Liberators are great to continue onwards with that slow pushing, right? And slowly, Stephano's army is being pushed back. Beautiful move so far here by DeMusliM. Really have to hand it to him. He's now trying to see if he can find himself a bit of an angle, and it does look like he may very well be able to. Hellbat's actually moving into their Hellbat form inside of the little shrubbery there, making it difficult. At the same time, the Locusts are moving forward as well, picking up one siege tank, a Thor right here as well, and they're not done just yet. Zerg's moving forward. Beautiful engagement there by Stephano, while he knows that his opponent was occupied. And at the same time, actually, the Roach Ravager Baneling Ball is moving forward, trying to shove DeMusliM away from that high ground position, taking a lot of the heavy hitting units there from Terran players out here in just a matter of seconds. Beautiful move there actually by Stephano. He knew that he had this base defended, so he just simply decided to go with it. Now, he did end up losing a couple of drones. Actually, only 65 harvests here for the Zerg player. It's really not too many. He's going to add on a couple more. They're actually rallied towards the bottom left-hand corner of the map. But still, I don't really mind this position here for our Terran, though. He's going to be able to get that dream army up, right? And slowly, these Swarmos, they're going to lose more and more of their value. Right, the longer that this goes on, usually the stronger that the Terran player armies do become. Now still, that is a lot of Zerg though. I have to hand it to Stephano here with the way that he's engaging here. Pushing really deep off of the creep. Trying to get as much damage as possible. Even allowing that planetary fortress to get a couple of kills as well. But he's just simply replacing this with more and more workers. I guess he ended up losing quite a few drones once again, yeah. I think that some of them must have received a proper roasting. There we go, 23 additional drones actually coming up. Not entirely sure actually where that was. I guess it was just simply a group of liberators and then maybe some Hellions and Hellbats and whatnot trying to be a nuisance. At the same time though, once again, Terran's trying to make a move forward. Liberators are really making this much harder, right? This is such a cheeky move there. One of the queens ends up dying. You just simply siege them up and then you push forward with your main force. This requires so many actions here from the Zerg player that it allows you as a Terran player to start moving forward with the main gross part of your army. A lot of lost mining time here once again by Stephano, and that is a ton of killed workers as well. 38 drones there in total. 26 more going down. That's a lot of workers here that have been killed. And now the Liberator Bull is slowly pushing forward. There's not a lot of anti-air, right? Stephano is now finally following this up here with a bunch of Hydralisk as well. But it does look like he's losing his footing here at this position of the map. And obviously when this base falls, the one to the right will also definitely go down. Stephano is looking like he's going to end up losing that base. 31 drones in total. That's a ridiculous amount here. 45 in the grand total of this game. And once again, well, there's a second Liberator, or a second Swarmos there in the back. Once again, he's getting a lot of value there. One base already going down, and rather than engaging the army, it looks like Stephano is maybe looking to see if he can deal some counter-attack damage instead. Alright, I like this a lot actually. DeMusliM falling back, splitting off a couple of siege tanks to maybe try and see if they can go after that base. Apparently he does reconsider because he kind of needs his forces there at home as well. Big group of locusts actually trying to go after the planetary fortress, but just barely. DeMusliM keeps that one alive. That's a very important pickup. Making sure that this command center stays here is actually absolutely critical. Now the thing is, Stephano does still have a lot of resources, right? He can continue mining here for a really long time. DeMusliM though, he's gonna run out of resources. Sure, he has 5 bases mining, but he really needs another one here in just a bit. I kind of would like him to see... I kind of would like him to start pushing towards this location over here or towards the one in the top right-hand corner. Because he's definitely going to run low on his main, in his natural, and then also his third and his fourth here shortly. Obviously, he took the fourth really early, right? But it also means that while he gets a lot of resources early on, it's going to start mining out quicker as well. These Swarmos though, man. I kind of wish we had like a timer or like a counter for how many kills the Swarmos got. Obviously a relatively uncommon unit to use for Zerg. Well, it does look like some of them may end up dying here. Once again though, that is a massive amount of Locust here moving forward. Corrosive Biles getting rid of a lot of those units as well. Hydra's now in the mix too. Hydras of course do a lot of damage, and now a couple of Vipers as well. Beautiful anti-armor missile once again here from our Terran player. Blinding Clouds did shut down some of those siege tanks, but a lot of the air units are still going strong. The Vikings now moving forward. There we go. Parasitic Bomb being activated on that Raven. It does look like the Raven will end up going down. The hatchery will also be forced to get cancelled here, but the micro from both players is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I love this. Stephano going for the switch towards Brute Lords. He's apparently found himself a bit of an angle to go ahead and do so. Now, he's been losing so many workers. Beautiful move here by DeMusliM. But the question is he ready for, I guess, what is going to be like 12 Brute Lords or so? At this point, he does have a whole lot of Vikings already. I like that one a lot, but he does need to be careful, right? If 12 Brute Lords all of a sudden show up, it's very, very difficult to make that call. And you got to keep in mind, Terran slowly mining out the resources. Beautiful Locust Wave once again, dealing so much damage. Stephano being patient with where he's deploying those, but whenever he does, he gets a little bit of value here and there. And really, like, we're getting to the point where We have very few amounts of resources still mining here for Terran. He's now going for a heavy amount of Liberators, but that's not really what you want against Brute Lords. At this point, DeMusliM doesn't know about the Greater Spire, although he probably needs to be aware of the fact that it's at the very least an option. Still, more and more drones will find their grave over here. That is almost 60 here in the grand total of the game. A lot of spine crawlers, though, were made, right? A lot of static defense here. Really like that move from Stephano, but still... While they eventually will die, that is still an additional, I guess, 12 drones. 67 in total. Alright. I feel like this game is gonna be made, or it's gonna be broken by the swarm hosts. It all comes down, or sorry, not the swarm hosts, to the Brute Lords, or by the Brute Lords. If Stephano just morphs in a big amount of Brute Lords, right? And he gets rid of the majority of those Vikings. That's really only 4 Vikings right now. That's very little. He can actually deal a massive amount of damage. Still, Stephano, of course, while he has been losing a lot of drones, he's also not been mining that much. This base here, it's been up for a little while, but that's, once again, a lot of drones here in total. Well, here come the swarm hosts once again. The Corruptors, before they morph into brutes, actually, are engaging here. I love it. Blinding Cloud on the majority of that army. Vikings now actually landing to try and see if they can survive for a little while longer. But Stephano just got rid of most of the anti-air here of this Terran force. Terran, though, smelling blood. They're trying to go after this base. This base most definitely will end up going down. Stephano actually trying to see if he can kill this command center as well. DeMusliM wanted to see if he can secure the gold. This command center is actually running awfully low. It is going to start burning down here. But for now, it will live for a little while longer. But not if the... Yeah, well, look at them. The Corruptors are actually puking on the base. They're going to be able to get rid of that one as well. Another command center taking a heavy amount of damage. And this is what happens when you don't have Thors. Your air army is gone. And all of a sudden, right, this means that the Brute Lord switch is going to be absolutely phenomenal. There's nothing remaining here other than 4 Vikings for DeMusliM to shoot up. But he obviously still has to deal with a massive amount of Corruptors and then also Hydralisk. I really feel like Stephano just needs to morph in Brutes. He's not doing it right now. I really thought that that was going to be his strategy. Well, it does look like DeMusliM is smelling the switch here as well. There we go, by the way. Thors are coming up, but right now also 8 Brute Lords in total. And I don't know if there's enough here for DeMusliM to fight against that. He's been pushing relentlessly, but he's been throwing away a lot of resources as well. I really felt like Stephano probably, you know, lost a lot more resources here, but he's been mining a lot more too. Well, I say that, right? But you can see here that the Terran army actually is still a lot more expensive. Stephano has been trading super efficiently with, I guess, his, you know, swarm host in particular, right? Those swarm hosts dealing a lot of damage. Once again, they're slowly releasing their locust, trying to go after this newly acquired command center. But the 3rd and the 4th are now running low on resources, and that means that DeMusliM is caught in a really weird angle. This base here was meant to go up on the 5th instead, right? Wasn't it? I think it was. And here are the brutes. Oh my god. So many Brute Lords. There's nothing that shoots up, and actually... DeMusliM knows it. He's been soft contained on 5 bases. And Stephano is the one that obtains the victory. What a well-fought game. So, the entire playstyle here from Stephano was to... just simply allow his opponent to go up to 4 or 5 bases quite easily, but then to just simply deny expansions extremely hard from there. Huh. Very interesting. I really like the position, though, that DeMusliM was in, but he couldn't close out the game. Maybe as when he was first sitting on 5 bases, right? Then he first killed that 4th base of Stephano when he sat on that high ground, right? I really felt like that was a great moment for him to start expanding towards, for example, the left-hand side of the map. Obviously, there was a lot of creep spread there, and you do have to do a lot of multitasking, but I really felt like that was his opportunity there to continue securing that economy. In StarCraft 2, armies obviously are critical, and they are the ones that really decide the outcome. But in the end, it's your economy, your backbone, that's most critical. And if there's one downside to mules, while they do give you a lot of additional resources when you drop them, they also mine out your mineral patches awfully quick. Beautiful game there by Stephano. He really got a lot of value out of those swarm hosts. And I guess as soon as the Brute Lord showed up, DeMusliM knew that it was time to GG because he really could not get any proper anti-air out anymore. Now, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for making my YouTube channel and my Twitch content and whatnot possible. I really appreciate it. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile or write, and I will see you once again in the next one.